our expectations for the remainder of this season for the Phoenix Suns, and that is an undertaking. That is not an easy process to do. It's a complete rewiring and remapping of where we are with this team. And I think in order for us to get to the end result here, and the end result is what should we expect for this team the rest of the way? What are fair, realistic expectations that we want to put on this team? I think we have to go back to the beginning. And that means saying, what were the expectations before the season? And before the year, you changed out who the head coach was. You added a veteran point guard. You drafted Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro. So you got some length at the center spot. You added a young center. You added a 3-and-D wing player in Ryan Dunn. You got the veteran point guard that everybody was just screaming from the rooftops with a megaphone about. I mean, it was everybody said, get a point guard. Please, if there's one thing that you do this offseason, get a point guard. They did that. They changed the coach. They checked every single box that if you were going to keep pushing this all in. Because let's face it, after last year, you get swept in the first round. That's one of those moments. That's one of those breaking points where you might reevaluate everything. We've been talking about when would there be the moment where maybe Matt Ishbia changes course, right? And this front office changes course. And I said that it was going to take something big. It was going to take a moment for them to maybe realize we have to shift gears here. Getting swept in the first round against Minnesota could have been that moment. If the team reacted to that by pivoting away from all of this, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye. I certainly wouldn't have. I would have understood, oh, okay, wait a minute. We have Kevin Durant, we have Devin Booker, we have Bradley Beal, and we just got swept by Minnesota? Is what we're doing right? Have we built a good basketball team? Or are we sure here? That's one of those take a step back and reevaluate everything moments. So we would have understood if they did that. They didn't. Okay, if you weren't going to take that step back, there were a couple of things that you needed to do. I think everybody thought you needed to change the coach. The defense philosophy from Frank Vogel, it just wasn't meshing with the way the team was put together, so you got to make that change. Boom, check mark, done. You get a championship caliber coach in there who's more on the offensive side in Mike Budenholzer. Okay, check. Then you get a point guard. You add a 3-and-D guy in Ryan Dunn in the draft. You get a young player in Oso to help with your center rotation. Check, check, check. All the boxes are checked. Okay. I think maybe there were some people a little uneasy about giving this another chance after you just got swept, but okay, you changed the necessary pieces that at least would make us feel a little better about you giving this a go. So we're going into the season with this group, with the changes that were made. It's back to, hey, avoid the play-in tournament. Be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the Western Conference. Get in there, see what you're able to do. Those were the expectations. I don't think anybody said championship or bust. They have to make the NBA Finals. We know that's what the goal is inside. The goal indoors in between that building is to win a championship. But I think with the way the season ended last year, remember, they were the 6th seed, barely avoided the play-in tournament with, 49 wins is what they did to avoid the play-in tournament, then got swept in the first round by 3-seeded Minnesota. The idea here is, okay, can you show us that it was a worthwhile decision to double down? Can you show us that it was a good decision to say, we're going to run this back, make the tweaks, and run this team out there for this upcoming season? And so that would have been, can you do better than the 6th seed? Can you win more than 49 games? Can you win a first-round playoff matchup? Can you show that the tweaks that you made were good tweaks? Can your offense be better? Can your fourth quarter play be better? Having a veteran point guard, can the turnovers be down? Can you not give away games late? All that stuff. And I think if this team would have played well, won around 50 games, avoid the play-in tournament, won a first-round series, played a hard-nosed second-round series, a contested battle that maybe went 6 or 7 games and they came up short, I think we would have had to take the step back and reprioritize a little bit. But I don't think anybody would have been furious at the team. So that's where we were before the season. And then the team gets off to an 8-1 start, and you're thinking, man, and I said this, and I think there's a social media clip of it out somewhere. And maybe we should, I don't know if we should repost it again to just show how wrong we were, or if we should bury it and never let it see the light of day again. I'm not really sure. But at the beginning of the year, I framed the season through one word. And that one word for me was redemption. That I thought this season could be a year of redemption for everybody. It could be a year of redemption for Kevin Durant. It could be a year of redemption for James Jones, Devin Booker. Go up and down the list of who was on this team last year. It could be a year of redemption. You could prove everybody wrong who thought it was a bad decision to run it back. And then they got off to an 8-1 start. And I thought, my goodness, this team is not only going to follow through on the storyline of redemption, but they might do it by being one of the best teams in the Western Conference. That's how good that start was. And then Kevin Durant got hurt and all the wheels fell off the bus. So that was where we were at the beginning of the season. And then we got to the middle part of the season. And I'll describe that as we will look at that through the lens of when the Jimmy Butler stuff first started, which was around the second week of December, all the way up through about, I'll say 10 days ago. What were the expectations then? Because Jimmy Butler was on the table. Jimmy Butler could potentially have been coming to Phoenix. And if they did that at the deadline, or if, let's just say, they did more at the deadline, what would the expectations have been? Now, you have all the hindsight. You have all the information of the way that they've played, 25 and 25 through the first half. If they did more at the trade deadline, other than just adding Nick Richards a few weeks ago and trading Yusuf Nurkic, if they did more, if they were able to land the Jimmy Butler move, or if they decided to use some of the other picks that they had to get other pieces in here, what would have the expectations been then? It certainly would not have been to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams. It would have been probably solidify yourself out of the play-in tournament, get that 6 seed, the 5 seed. It's probably the ceiling for this team because of the hole that they dug. And then win a first-round playoff matchup. Would have been kind of similar to the expectations before the year. So instead, they did nothing. I'm going to call what they did this week relatively nothing. So now we need to find a new set of expectations the rest of the way. And we need to consider what the expectations were before the year, what the expectations were when the flirtation with Jimmy Butler and making moves at the deadline was a thing, and then we need to present what our new expectations are. And I'll be honest, everybody, it's difficult. It's hard. Because on one hand, the team didn't push the chips further into the middle. That's a sign. They hit the pause button. They took the foot off the gas pedal. That's a sign. They haven't done that yet. That's the first time they took their foot off the gas pedal. So I look at that and say, does this front office no longer believe? Does this front office think that it's going to take major surgery in the offseason to fix this? So I have that on one side. And on the other side, I have a team that has a healthy Kevin Durant. Looks like he's going to play tonight. Has a healthy Devin Booker. Has a healthy Bradley Beal. Looks like he's going to play tonight. They're all, him, Ryan Dunn, are listed, I believe, as probables. I think Kevin Durant is listed as questionable, which is an upgrade from the doubtful that he was before being ruled out. So it does look like those guys are going to play. But remember, there's a back-to-back, so we'll see how Coach Bud chooses to deploy the guys tonight against Utah, and then what he does for tomorrow night's game against Denver. Don't worry, we'll get to that in hour number 2 of the program. The world-famous How Important Is Tonight's Game for the Phoenix Suns scale will be back in hour number 2. We have 2 of them to give out here today. Don't worry. That's coming up in hour number 2 of the program. But this team has all those guys. They're all still here. Bradley Beal didn't waive his no-trade clause. Kevin Durant's not in the Bay Area. Kevin Durant's not in Miami. Devin Booker's still here. This team is still the same team. So what should the expectations be? And I think by setting realistic expectations, it will determine your level of disappointment. And I don't think it is unreasonable to look at where this team currently stands at 500, to see what they didn't do at the deadline, who they didn't remove from their roster, and say, I think on paper, talent-wise, this team should still be able to get into the play-in tournament. I think seeds 7 through 10 are realistic expectations for this team. And I would not fault you. It's not believing in this team. If you think that the Suns are still talented enough and the expectation should be to make it into the play-in tournament, you are not saying, I still believe in this team. You are just saying, I think they have 3 really talented players. They should be able to figure it out. I do not think this team will win a first-round playoff matchup. I don't know if this team will be able to, if they're the 9 or 10 seed, win 2 games in a row to get into the playoffs. I don't think they'll be able to do that. I do think they are talented enough, despite being 25-25, the play-in tournament should still be the lens that we look at this through. They kept Kevin Durant. They kept Devin Booker. They kept Bradley Beal. Okay, boys, put that all in the rearview mirror and prove everybody wrong with 32 games to go. Get into the play-in tournament. Try to win a first-round series if you can, but do not miss the playoffs entirely. Because if you miss the playoffs entirely, I think all bets are off on what this summer looks like. I think if you miss the playoffs entirely, if you're the 11, 12, if you let Portland chase you down, if Golden State, San Antonio, if all those teams chase you down, and you're behind all of them, and you're hanging out with Utah towards the back part of the Western Conference, all bets are off for this summer. This team can still be between the 7 and the 10 seed. This team can still be a play-in tournament team, and we could watch them be in a playoff series. There is still enough talent on this team. Those are the expectations. Before the year, it was, could you be towards the top half of the conference, but more towards the bottom part of the top half? Maybe the 4 or 5 seed, win a first-round matchup, get hot at the right time, draw the right matchups, go on a run. Now it's, can you get into the play-in tournament? And I don't think it is unreasonable for that to be the lens that we look through this to. They still have all those guys. There's no reason to tank. You don't have your first-round pick. So let's go, boys. Let's tie our shoes. Bradley Beal looking at you. Let's buckle up, and let's play 32 games of basketball and try to get into the playoffs. The play-in tournament should be the focus for this team. Those are the expectations. They can get into the play-in tournament.